He was fiercely berated within his own party at the time for having taken what I consider to be a very sensible step. So I think it's overall a positive. Now, I am under no illusions that suddenly I'm going to have a rubber stamp Senate. I've got Democrats who don't agree with me on everything, and that's how it should be. Congress is a co-equal branch of government. Every senator who's there, whether I agree with them or disagree with them, I think truly believes that they are doing their absolute best to represent their constituencies. And we've got regional differences, and we've got some parts of the country that are affected differently by certain policies. And those have to be respected, and there's going to have to be compromise and give and take on all of these issues. I do think that to my Republican friends, I want them to realize that me reaching out to them has been genuine. I can't sort of define bipartisanship as simply being willing to accept certain theories of theirs that we tried for 8 years and didn't work, and the American people voted to change. But there are a whole host of areas where we can work together. And I've said this to people like Mitch McConnell. I said, look, on health care reform, you may not agree with me that we should have a public plan. That may be philosophically just too much for you to swallow. On the other hand, there's some areas like reducing the costs of medical malpractice insurance where you do agree with me. If I'm taking some of your ideas and giving you credit for good ideas, the fact that you didn't get 100% can't be a reason every single time to oppose my position. And if that is how bipartisanship is defined, a situation in which basically wherever there are philosophical differences, I have to simply go along with ideas that have been rejected by the American people in a historic election, we're probably not going to make progress. If, on the other hand, the definition is that we're open to each other's ideas, there are going to be some differences. The majority will probably be determinative when it comes to resolving just hardcore differences that we can't resolve, but there's a whole host of other areas where we can work together, then I think we can make progress.
Is the Republican Party in the desperate straits that Arlen Specter seems to think it is?
You know, politics in America changes very quick. And I'm a big believer that things are never as good as they seem and never as bad as they seem. You're talking to a guy who was 30 points down in the polls during a primary in Iowa. So I don't believe in crystal balls. I do think that our administration has taken some steps that have restored confidence in the American people that we're moving in the right direction. And that simply opposing our approach on every front is probably not a good political strategy. Okay. Ed Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. In a couple of weeks, you're going to be giving the commencement at Notre Dame. And as you know, this has caused a lot of controversy among Catholics who are opposed to your position on abortion. As a candidate, you vowed that one of the very first things you wanted to do was sign the Freedom of Choice Act, which, as you know, would eliminate federal, state, and local restrictions on abortion. And at one point in the campaign, when asked about abortion in life, you said that it was above, quote, above my pay grade. Now that you've been president for 100 days, obviously, your pay grade is a little higher than when you were a senator. Do you still hope that Congress quickly sends you the Freedom of Choice Act so you can sign it?
You know, my view on abortion, I think, has been very consistent. I think abortion is a moral issue and an ethical issue. I think that those who are pro-choice make a mistake when if they suggest, and I don't want to create straw men here, but I think there's some who suggest that this is simply an issue about women's freedom and that there's no other considerations. I think, look, this is an issue that people have to wrestle with, and families and individual women have to wrestle with. The reason I'm pro-choice is because I don't think women take that position casually. I think that they struggle with these decisions each and every day, and I think they are in a better position to make these decisions ultimately than members of Congress or a President of the United States, in consultation with their families, with their doctors, with their clergy. So that's been my consistent position. The other thing that I said consistently during the campaign is I would like to reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies that result in women feeling compelled to get an abortion, or at least considering getting an abortion, particularly if we can reduce the number of teen pregnancies, which has started to spike up again. And so I've got a task force within the Domestic Policy Council in the West Wing of the White House that is working with groups both in the pro-choice camp and in the pro-life camp to see if we can arrive at some consensus on that. Now, the Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority. I believe that women should have the right to choose, but I think that the most important thing we can do to tamp down some of the anger surrounding this issue is to focus on those areas that we can agree on, and that's where I'm going to focus. Okay. Jeff Zelny.
Thank you, Mr. President. During these first 100 days, what has surprised you the most about this office, enchanted you the most about serving in this office, humbled you the most, and troubled you the most?
Now, let me write this down.
Surprised, troubled.
I've got, what was the first one?
Surprised.
Surprised.
Troubled.
Troubled.
Enchanted.
Enchanted. Nice.
And humbled.
And what was the last one? Humbled?
Humbled. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. Surprised. I am surprised compared to where I started when we first announced for this race by the number of critical issues that appear to be coming to a head all at the same time. You know, when I first started this race, Iraq was a central issue, but the economy appeared on the surface to still be relatively strong. There were underlying problems that I was seeing with health care for families and our education system and college affordability and so forth, but obviously I didn't anticipate the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. And so, you know, the typical president, I think, has 2 or 3 big problems. We've got 7 or 8 big problems. And so we've had to move very quickly. And I'm very proud of my team for the fact that we've been able to keep our commitments to the American people to bring about change, while at the same time managing a whole host of issues that had come up that weren't necessarily envisioned a year and a half ago. Troubled. I'd say less troubled, but you know, sobered by the fact that change in Washington comes slow. That there is still a certain quotient of political posturing and bickering that takes place, even when we're in the middle of really big crises. I would like to think that everybody would say, you know what, let's take a time out on some of the political games, focus our attention for at least this year, and then we can start running for something next year. And that hasn't happened as much as I would have liked.